It's not really a children's products. It's all kind of medical devices. They're not really accommodating any one of those children with special needs. They're starting kind of to improvise using foams, using glues, using masking tapes. Once they're able to sit independently, then you can start on breathing, eating, eye contact, education, everything else.
Today I have a very fun guest, Alex Geht with Testa-Seat, and wanted to just ask him about how he got into developing chairs specifically for cerebral palsy and other individuals that have difficulty standing or sitting and moving for a variety of different reasons. I'll let him explain as he's much better at it than me, but for the purpose of this interview, we're going to just go ahead and dive into it. Welcome,
Hey,
Alex.
Richard, thanks for having me. Yeah, so the story of Testa-Seat is kind of a long story from my personal experience. I had a niece that she has a cerebral palsy with a really complicated situation that she's not able to sit independently, but also not portable. And we saw as a family all the challenges. But also, I was volunteering and working with the children's hospitals. I'm industrial designer in my background, so my goal and my role in the children's hospitals was kind of working with the therapists, working with the families, working with the children's, understanding their needs, and kind of learning how we can make a solution or create something that can help them, any kind of assistive technology in this space. And working in those children's hospitals, working with the therapists, sitting was one of those main things that they always complained about and always keep saying, you start with sitting. Once they able to sit independently, then you can start on breathing, eating, eye contact, education, everything else. But without the sitting posture, it will be not possible to get them to the point that they can start learning and all the other things. And once I realized how important the seating, I also looked on the current solutions on the market, walking in the children's hospital, seeing wooden chairs, chairs that customize with pool noodles or pieces of foams and other kind of stuff. Seeing how poor this field designed. It's not really a children's products. It's all kind of medical devices that in my gut feeling was not really made for children. It's just to say, hey, it helped the child and the family in some way, but not really thoughtfully designed.
When you say it was customized with a pool noodle, that to me feels like a nurse was doing something there to try and make it better for them. And not that they're bad, it's just you found a better option.
That's exactly the way that most of those products exist. The product on the market, they design in a way that they can accommodate kind of all kids, but they're not really accommodating any one of those children with special needs. Families have no idea how to even start this process. They don't really understand what will benefit the child. So the only option and the only thing that kind of exists right now is the nurse or the therapist. They're seeing the child, they're seeing the posture in the existing product, and they starting kind of to improvise using foams, using glues, using masking tapes and other stuff just to make it work. That's all. This is the market that we are in.
Your niece had cerebral palsy and you kind of saw, hey, there's a challenge there. But you said you were in a separate country. Which country were they in? Which country were you in? I do hear your accent, and I kind of wonder, where is that accent from?
It's a long way. I started in Ukraine, Russia, Israel, and then moved to the US. All my father's side family, they are in Germany. It's kind of the after effects of the war in Europe. So everybody moved in different places. We was in Israel, they was in Germany. It was on distance, but we really kind of really saw the struggle and the complications that having a child with disabilities and cerebral palsy. And even though the Germany had they kind of providing a good support for those children, it was still something that you can't really provide all the support. And I saw how limited they are on both of what they can do with the child, but also the entire family kind of locked in their houses usually and not able to go anywhere else that usually we can.
In that journey, going through from Ukraine eventually to Israel and then ending up in the US here, coming from an engineering background, how did you find reestablishing yourself multiple times in each one of those countries?
one of the things that helps to reestablish in every single country, I think it's also moving from Russia with really limited opportunities and coming from really a poor family, seeing when you're not able to get something. It's not about the value that you can get from product. It's not about that most of the products now they priced by the value that they're providing. And when you speak in this market, usually people that will tell you about you provide so much value by combining different products and you saving the children's posture and families can pay much more than you charge them. Coming from those places, you understand that if a family can't afford it, they just can't. And I think this is something that I keep always with me and trying to get the products more affordable. Moving to Israel, it's kind of changed my perspective on what an individual can do because of the innovation that happens in Israel. But still, Israel, it's really a limited market. So there's not many products and opportunities like in the US. So seeing the struggle there, but also kind of, hey, we have a problem, but it's actually an opportunity. So it's something that
Yeah.
really designed my mind from having a challenge. It's also an opportunity to solve it, working with a therapist. And also, I think it's something that really rooted in Israeli people that working with therapists, they always thinking about the solutions, right? They seeing all those challenges all the time. They're like, let's try to make it different. But then I think also moving to the US, it's something that I believe not many people realizing how huge the opportunity is to move to the US because of the size of the market and the different infrastructures and different opportunities that you have. So it's kind of from place that you have nothing to an innovation space, but really limited. And now being in the US, it's also a huge opportunity of starting the manufacturing here, proudly making all the products really locally, manufacturing them locally, but also the access to all the incredible therapists in the space. And I think is the social media, it's also made incredible impact on our space, opening the gaps, closing the gaps between the therapists and families and the innovators. We're kind of working in the same space now. So it's really incredible to see sometimes that in the US you will find people that if it's not exist, it's not exist, and we can do nothing about it. And in my opinion, if it's not exist, probably we can change it and make it different and better. It's a lot of incredible opportunities. Also seeing all the innovations happening in the US, it's just motivating and kind of opening our eyes and the opportunity. So it's kind of long journey, but every single country keeps some footprint on this journey.
So as you moved forward in going from Russia and then into Israel and then to US, you were seeing an improved market each time. You saw more opportunity. And obviously, looking at it now, you took that opportunity and you were able to grow. And now, roughly about, I don't know if the answer is how many kids have you helped or how many families have you enabled to be mobile or just flat out, how many lives do you think you've actually improved?
It started really slow and low volumes in Israel. The product exists already for 8 years. We have a lot of experience and feedback from therapists and families in US. We started to deliver the products last June. We established all the manufacturing here. We received some grants and investment from the local organizations from Alpha Lab Health that we participated. All the period in Israel, we delivered about 120 seats. And now, since last June, we already delivered about 700 units across the US. We have the seats in Canada. We now really focusing also in Australia and UK. You see the incredible desire of those families to get something new and trial it, but you also see the feedback from the clinics on the opportunities and the affordability of the product. So we have about 70 clinics that they have the equipment in their clinic. They're using the equipment on daily basis. And we have about, I believe, impacted about 300 families that they also having and using the equipment on daily basis.
And this is not just a how to make the child more comfortable. This is life changing. You had made a comment earlier about one of the first goals is to be able to sit, and then you can grow beyond that, hitting that small milestone. And Obviously, these kids need help in that. And thinking on the custom seat world, my first thought as an F1 fan was the cockpit of an F1 racer. Custom fitted, molded for each driver, and does not work for another driver to fit. In these seats, I'm assuming that there's a high level of customization into them. But then there's also a certain level that you're saying, hey, clinics are using these. So I assume if a clinic's using it, it's using it for more than one child at a time. Or I mean, obviously one person sits in it at a time, but broad enough that it can support multiple children. How exactly customized are these seats?
We started from a point that we thought that every single one will need a custom seat. And this was kind of the starting of the engineering mind solving this complicated problem. But then we also always trying to keep it affordable. So we started to make them custom. We also realized that there is a kind of general three sizes that we have that used among many different clinics. We had the children's daycare that they ordered like about 20 different seats in different variations. We saw that the 3 seat sizes working pretty well for many of those kiddos. We have now 3 different sizes. They are also a little bit more affordable than the custom seat. And those 3 sizes usually used for kids that they have some control, but they still need more support than any other seat, and they can fit them really well. The size seats also used for clinics. So as you mentioned, they using the seats, they fitting the child, depend on the size of the seat that they have. But then also those size seats, we use them to kind of to start the customization process. So they're sitting in one of the seats, and then they can mention that we need to make it a little bit higher or a little bit wider based on the child, or even just taking 5 simple measurement of the child, and based on those measurements, we can make the seat. But it's kind of really combination of if a child can sit in the size product, it's great because it will be much more affordable for them. If not, we will customize the seat, but we also will look on the growth aspect. So it will be a little bit more open for them. And the other biggest aspects that we kind of learned in the process that the small kids, they're growing really fast.
I have 2 children, 5 and 8. So yeah, I've just gone through my son, his pants fit him one summer, and by the end of the summer, they're shorts. But yeah, so in that customization, I assume you probably have like a basic shell that you work with and then get some inner lining or the inner structure. I gotta ask, I see the koala and panda in your background. Are they sitting in your chairs? The customization process is trying to support them specifically with cerebral palsy. I'm assuming the chair needs to be specifically like supporting them maybe a little higher up on the shoulders, a little more maybe lumbar support. What are you engineering there to help them? And what kind of things are there to help them with that to fit them and allow them to be comfortable?
The unique thing about Testa-Seat is that we created a customization platform. It started in this way that we worked with the therapists, and you're trying to convince the therapist that this is the best configuration, right? And you work with one therapist, you develop an approach, and they need to sit 90 degree, and they need this support and that support, and it's like these therapists love it. And then you go to another therapist, and they see it, and they're like, no, we don't like it because we need a wider angle, and we need less support, and we need less straps. So instead of fighting those therapists, because there is no one approach, there is no one kid that will fit the same seat, we develop a platform that we're taking the measurements together with the therapist and the family, and depend on the therapist and the family and the child size and kind of what kind of support they need. We can control, we can make the seat more supportive on the sides or less supportive, really depending on how much freedom of motion we want to provide them. If they have less head control, we can add tilt or recline to the seat. Some kiddos, some therapists, they really like them to sit in kind of inclined position, more like riding a horse. So it's kind of a negative angle of sitting. So we also can make that. The seat can be wider, deeper. We can configure the seat almost in any recommendation of the therapist and really fully customize the digital file. And this is kind of the magic that we customizing everything in the digital world and then having the file and 3D printing the entire seat. We don't have a shell that we playing, we just have a files that we're playing with them and then 3D printing the entire seat.
Very cool. Is there any, I'm going to say like regulation or like, oh, this is a medical device, it has to be FDA approved or anything like that? I mean, you're doing a specific one-off customization, so I assume any kind of regulation would be in, hey, what's that base file like and what is the materials you're using? Is this a free to any consumer product that you can go, hey, if you want this, buy this? What, if any, regulations are behind there?
It's one of those complicated and funny places to be, especially with our product. It's not an invasive product, so on the FDA, it's on the lowest side. It's like class one exempt. It's the simplest. But on the other hand, it's kind of a marketing approach. So we are not saying that we are a medical device. We are not claiming that kind of we will improve your child's posture or we will reduce the scoliosis, etc. For us at this moment, we are marketing the seat as a custom seat. Every single one can customize the seat. Usually families with children with physical disabilities or spinal deformations, they will benefit much more from the seat. And this is the decision that we made to not market it yet as a medical device. But if you export the seat or you start a conversation with any other healthcare system or manufacturing regulation, they will absolutely say that it's a medical device. And going back to the F1 seats for the racers, is it a medical device? I don't know.
A safety device, yeah, more so comfort and fit is what I would think.
Yeah, so it's really kind of on how you advertise or what claims you do. But we started from without any claims, no FDA. We are now in the process of registering. For us, it will be much easier than any other regulatory from FDA. It's class one exam. It's simply saying you need to register your product and then it will be classified as FDA approved product. And the main reason that we're going to this approach is just to get the product reimbursed by the insurance. Most of the families that we're working with them, they still will buy another seat from the seat that they're receiving because they need more than one. But still, there is many families that they're not able to buy any seat without the insurance assistance. So we are now in the process to get to the insurance, even though that we see that most of the market will buy it from pocket anyhow, because it's also not a decision of the family if they need a seat. It's the decision of the therapist and the decision of the payer of the insurance if it's a medical necessity that really proves the need of the seat for a child. So it's a complicated process that we see most of the families just leave me alone. If it's affordable enough, I will just buy it without wasting the time. So short answer, yes, it's kind of in between the medical or kind of a custom seat, but we're definitely hoping that in the future we will have enough study proving that having a custom seat early is possible. And this is what we hear also from the families and from the therapists. Having the seat soon as possible for a child can improve the spinal growth, so it can reduce spinal deformation in the future. It also helps them to develop much better. It helps with the eye contact, breathing, eating. It kind of connects almost every single thing in a child because most of the activities there should be seated, at least.
It's crazy to think that a seat could really help with that much. You and I both have sat in an uncomfortable seat. I think back to my grammar school days, and those were very uncomfortable seats, though I think they were the standard issue across all of Los Angeles County. We had the same blue chairs with silver pipe on them, and they fit nobody, but we were supposed to sit in them for 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day, something like that. And thinking on that, I'm like, man, most of these kids that we're looking at are probably very mobily challenged. So therefore they're having to sit or lay down the entire, almost all the time. So there probably is no such thing outside of the Testa-Seat or maybe some other examples out there of a comfortable chair for them. Something that you wouldn't mind sitting in all day.
It's incredible how most of us taking for granted sitting. Like it took me a while to really understand that sitting, we sit most of the day. most of the day we're seated, and for those that they really need a supportive seat, I just sometimes explain it as think about that you have a shoe 3 sizes smaller or 3 sizes bigger.
Yeah.
You probably will not enjoy to walk in these kind of shoes during the day, or you will probably maybe even not able to run with them, but also having the same shoe for all the activities, and it will not fit you. You probably will not use them at all. And this is what we see with most of the equipment in this space. The child may be seated in their houses, but what about the outdoors? What about the entire family that they just want to fly somewhere? And it's just when you're trying to explain how centric the seat for every single family, you just realize that every single hour, every single meal, every single shower, they need something to sit in school, in house, in outdoors. Yeah, so it's crazy.
And taking care of that simple need. We say simple need, but it very much is a basic need. And you know how simple it really is to make these for these kids. That opens up a door for them to be able to start growing and start getting better, getting stronger. And from where you've been and in this process now for many years, what growth have you seen in these kids?
I'm sometimes debating if the product is for a child or a parent. It's a product for both of them, and we see kind of the feedbacks from both of them. So we have children that they really, thanks for the Testa-Seat, they starting to tolerate sitting at all. Otherwise, they're not even able to start the sitting process, and then they missing the entire process of sitting and being involved in many activities of sitting. We have child that we already kind of working with him for 8 years, seeing the photos from the family of the different activities that they have with the seat, from boating, sitting on the floor and playing with peers, pools, traveling. It's incredible to see how the child really have much more opportunities to be engaged with other kids, to be engaged with other activities. So from we don't have a specific studies of if it's improved the spine, if it's improved the activity, but we see them much more engaged. We see how in some cases it's even improve writing because they just not focusing on sitting, but they focusing on writing. It's improve feeding, eating, and breathing. But on the other hand, I also see how the families, they kind of have those moments of relief because we started from really focusing on the customization from the engineering side, right? Working with the therapist and saying how the child need to sit. But I think something that changed my entire thinking process about the seat is when the first family took the seat with them outdoors. They sent us a picture of them sitting in a restaurant, and she wrote us a message. This is the first time in my life that I can sit and eat with my child and face him without holding him in my arms, because this is the only way that they can get out. And I realized that it's not only about how we customizing the seat and what is the posture, but how you use the seat, where the seat goes, where they can use it. So kind of we see many families that this is the first time that we're sledding. This is the first time that we're eating together. This is the first time that the child can sit with us at the same table and not in their wheelchair separately from all. So it's kind of incredible to see that it's about the family and still it's just a seat.
So, as a parent, there's part of me that goes, that is huge. Knowing your child's in pain and knowing there's very little you can do about it, those are things that for me, my daughter had a spinal injury from delivery. For the first few weeks, she could not settle. She was just crying and crying. And actually, it's one of the things that really introduced me to the power of chiropractic. We went to a child chiropractor and he was able to find and feel like, oh, hey, she is twisted here. Let me reset this. And to see that peace spread across my daughter's body and how well she slept after that, I couldn't imagine going from the uncomfortable, difficult seat where you can't travel, you can't move, to a seat that's customized, providing the support, providing comfort to the child, and something that they need to be in a great deal. That becomes huge to me. And I go, yeah, there's a relief to the parents, I can imagine. So, yeah, you sound like you found a great I don't want to say heart space, but a great space to where you're helping the children, but also the families. And there's probably also some other response from the therapist going, okay, we can start moving on. They're progressing. They're comfortable.
It's unbelievably incredible space to be. I am really grateful to be in this space. I will join what he was mentioning about the therapist in my journey as an industrial designer, that we know how to make stuff, but seeing a therapist take this child that barely can sit or hold himself and start playing and see what posture will be the best for him. And then you just see this magical moment when they finding the right posture and the child can see and make an eye contact, but then the therapist look at you and saying, you see the posture? Yeah, but we don't have any way to keep it. I know to hold him, but they need another pair of hands that will hold them. And this is kind of the process that started the idea of, can we replicate this posture that the therapist found for this child, because they found it, and can we keep it? So working with the therapist, it's really kind of an incredible opportunity in this space, just to understand what can be done with the right posture. And working with families, it's kind of incredible to see how they can use the seat. It's incredible space to be. Complicated, but really incredible.
So my question then becomes, how do we find you? How do we create that connection between the therapists and the families and you? Where's that connection being made? You mentioned before about in the hospitals it's very difficult to get in there. Where are you finding these families? Or how are these families finding you?
I'm usually saying that the best place to kind of to learn about Testa-Seat and see how the families using them and the clinics using them, it's the Instagram page. So if you search Testa-Seat at Instagram, you will find how the families use them, how the clinics use them. We also have a website, but it's less active than the social media, really seeing the real life stories. But it's also at testaseat.com. And we making those connections usually, I believe it's really in a unique way that most of the industry not doing that. We usually seeing a family that's really interested in seed because sometimes it's not affordable for them any other seed, or sometimes they just not finding a good seating solution for them. So they're reaching out, and then for us the best approach is saying, hey, connect us with your therapist. We will send them a demo kit. They will test it, you will test it, you will see what size fits you, but you also will get the feedback of a therapist. Because one of the things that we learned, most of those families, they applying for a seat for the insurance. Insurance approved them one kind of seat.
Yeah.
It takes them about 6-7 months to get the seat. During this time, they're growing, they're changing, but also they're getting the seat. They start use the seat, and it's not fitting them.
Makes sense.
Because of this
6 months
process,
old.
6 months old, it's a difference between using the seat for 20 minutes than using the seat for a few hours or during the day. So with this process of connecting the family with the therapist and both of them trialing the seat, and families can also trial them for a longer time, we know that every single family, if they buy the equipment, they trial it, they trust it, and they will love it. So for us, it's kind of the best and the safe way to kind of get the seat, the right seat for our right child. So this is kind of the approach that we developed, but also many clinics approaching us just because they want to have an additional equipment in their clinics. And we're reaching out both the families and the clinics kind of a more private way, social media, emails, and so on.
Very cool. So to get a hold of you would be at Testa-Seat on Instagram, or your testaseat.com on on the web. And yeah, so kind of a segue about how long does it take to get a seat from saying, hey, I found you on Instagram, I connected you with my therapist. How long is that process going to take? Are we talking weeks, months? What does that look like? Or it just depends on therapist or other things?
So usually if it's a standard sizes, as I mentioned, we have the three standard sizes and the demo kits. We're usually shipping them at the same week or 2 to 3 weeks, depends on the pipeline, on the waiting list that we have for the demo kits. But if it's a size product that the family just want to buy, it's usually between a week and 2 weeks that they can get them. Now, for a custom seat, it's kind of an interesting story, because usually if you make a custom seat, it will take between 4 to 6 months to make the custom seat. For us, once we're getting the measurements, we actually can make the seat almost the next day. But we're usually saying 2 to 3 weeks, and we can customize and ship and deliver the seat.
And also making sure the measurements are right, and probably a test fitting somewhere in there once they get it, and back and forth there, I would assume. But yeah, well, I do very much thank you for your time here. I thank you for sharing your progress here and how even going from Ukraine through Israel to now in the States, you've seen your business grow, and you see how your business is impacting the lives of these parents, of these kids, of these therapists, impacting whole families. I appreciate the time with you. I thank you very much. Just kind of one more time, what is the best way to get a hold of you is with your Instagram, and just to make sure I get that, it's at Testa-Seat on Instagram, and that's probably the best way to get a hold of you and to make that connection and reach out to you.
Yeah. And Instagram and the website is the best ways. I can send you also the link. I will send you the links. And also thank you so much for your time, because this field is not covered enough. And unfortunately, most of this kind of assistive technology disability space, they are really niche. They are less interesting, most of the media, and really grateful that you cover it and kind of interested in this topic.
Very cool. Well, hey, thank you, Alex. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being on.
Thank you.